Happy Friday Eve, everyone. It's weather for Weather Geeks time. We're back after a little hiatus this week. If you saw my post on social media a few days ago, weather for Weather Geeks is going to be a little bit sporadic. In fact, quite sporadic this week and next week, as we have some exciting things happening here in the weather department that unfortunately I can't tell you about just yet. But I think you're going to like those changes, and the preparations for those changes are eating up a lot of our work days right now, so that kind of leaves little time for Weather Geeks, but we've got time today. We'll have time tomorrow as well. And here's what's going on across the country today. Locally, beautiful day out there. The sun is shining. We had a cool start to the day, but we do have some rain off to the west, crossing the Mississippi River here. And the big question will be for us, the forecast headache, if you will, for us, is what happens to this as it comes east. Does it move far enough north or stay far enough north that we get a little rain, or does it push off towards south? We'll talk about that a little more in just a second. But hey, first things first, beautiful day out there today. We've got sunshine, we've got highs in the 70s. Now you might notice a very subtle haze in the air today, particularly north and northeast of Youngstown. If you pay real close attention here, this satellite picture looks a little fuzzy, right in through about here especially, down to about Erie. This is actually smoke from wildfires that are way up in Canada, but the prevailing winds aloft are dragging down some of that haze and smoke out of northern Canada. It's especially prevalent just east of the Great Lakes, and then heading over into parts of Ontario, Erie, Buffalo, and again, this far south, it's definitely very subtle, but you might notice a little bit of a haze in the air for today. But otherwise, it's a beautiful day. Temperatures this afternoon are in the mid 70s, and dew points are in the 50s. Dew points in the 50s this time of the year. You know what that means? That is a real bargain. Something that is a little unusual for early on in August. All right, your eye is definitely drawn to this area of low pressure out in the middle of the country today. The big question is, hey, what's going to happen to that? Because the model's been having a hard time figuring that out over the last couple of days. So what we're going to do here is take a look at the latest NAM model. That stands for North American Model. This is a model that is run out through 60 hours in the kind of a coarser resolution version of it, but the more high-res version of this model goes out to 36 hours, I believe. That's what we're looking at now. And this is the simulated radar product. I'm going to fast forward to this evening. It's going to about 6 p.m. That rain impacting parts of Illinois. Then I'm going to fast forward here into the overnight. The middle of the night tonight, notice what's happening. The rain's trying to shift off to the south and the east as well. What we have going on is our high pressure zone to the north flexing its muscle a little bit here tonight. The center of this high pressure is up here, and that's kind of shunting a lot of this moisture off to the south. So what that means for us is that while we might get some clouds from that system, I suspect we're going to stay dry, not only tonight but on Friday as well. Here's the simulated radar product tomorrow morning. Rain Cincinnati on south, but Mahoning and Shenango valleys, we should be in pretty good shape for our Friday. Again, it's not going to be quite as bright and sunny as today, but a nice day nonetheless. And tomorrow afternoon and evening, rain a little bit might try to get as far north as I-70, but that should about do it. Now, beyond this, as we head into the upcoming weekend, this is where we have our challenges certainly ahead of us. Let's zoom ahead to Saturday here. Now, we still have that frontal boundary dangling down there across the Ohio River with little ripples of low pressure along it, and some of the models are bringing these ripples far enough north that it may not ruin, but it certainly may sort of put a kink in our sunny forecast for the weekend. Here's the GFS model Saturday late in the afternoon and the evening. GFS model gets this about as far north as, say, I-80. A little bit of light rain Saturday afternoon and evening. That's the latest GFS. Now, the new European model's not in yet, but I'll show you last night's European, another medium to long range model that we oftentimes use. Show you the same time step here. Saturday evening, European GFS. European GFS. Notice the GFS is overall farther north and a little juicier with the precipitation. European keeps most of the heavier stuff well to our south and just brings tiny little bits of rain, maybe up to about Route 30. So we've got a little war of the models going on here. Right now, we did insert a 20% chance of a shower, a little bit of rain Saturday afternoon in our forecast at noon. We're going to see what all the new models have to say this afternoon and reevaluate that. We might keep a real low probability. Just something to keep in mind. If you have outdoor plans on Saturday, this might be a close call. We'll have more details certainly by the time I hit the air tonight on 21 News at 6. It's summertime. It's a weekend coming up. A lot of people are outdoors, so it's a high-impact thing. If we've been talking about how great the weekend's going to be, and all of a sudden it looks like it might rain a little, that's kind of a high-impact thing, so we definitely want to keep you in the loop and give you a heads up as to what our latest thinking is. And our latest thinking right now is that it's likely to still miss us to the south, but it might be a close call. So stay tuned on that. Here's a look at Sunday. Latest GFS model again tries to sneak some spotty showers and storms up to about I-80. Last night's European, dry for us. So, again, a tough forecast right now for both days this weekend. As we head into early next week, here's a look at Monday. This is when the models start to become a little bit more in agreement, believe it or not, as we get ahead into the longer range with a front trying to slip in early next week. I think there's a better chance, a higher chance of getting wet early next week as compared to the weekend. But again, stay tuned. We have our forecast challenges out there. All right, let's talk a little bit about the longer range since I haven't touched on this week with the lack of Weather Geek videos. Overall, the idea I'm going to show you here is that this is not a warm pattern. Not a hot pattern, I should say. It doesn't look like 90s happening anytime real soon. Here's the upper level wind flow this weekend. A little area of high pressure aloft up in southeastern Canada. Overall, that doesn't mean much for us other than temperatures will be near the seasonal average this weekend. So we head into next week. Let's fast forward to a week from now. Actually, let's go to next Wednesday. Here's next Wednesday. What you're seeing is a ridge down here over the desert southwest, a trough over the Great Lakes. That's not a chilly look for us, but it is a look that means that the hot air is going to stay out to the west. This trough is going to prevent the hot stuff from coming our way middle of next week. Super longer range then, taking a look at next weekend. This will be the 16th. Again, this is not a pattern that favors heat in the east. It's a kind of a ridge pattern in the southwest, but notice here in the east, kind of a trophy look to things. This doesn't mean it's going to be way below average, but it also means that it's not going to be above average either by at least, several degrees. Now, it might be near average or even maybe a day or two where it's above average by a degree or two, but this is not a pattern that's going to produce 90s. So that's next weekend, 16th into 17th. Beyond that, of course, we don't trust any model too much, but the latest European ensemble keeps just kind of a general zonal pattern here across the U.S., and that's not a signal that would bring us much heat. If you're longing for 90s, if your pool's a little lonely this summer, this isn't your pattern. I mean, here's the GFS model. I just showed you the European model. Here's the GFS model out the next 16 days with some specific numbers. Now, don't take this verbatim, but pay attention to the trends. We warm up into the lower 80s as we head into the upcoming weekend. A little bit of a backing off then early next week, and then beyond that, late next week into the following week. It's not a warm pattern. It's going to be hard for us to get much above average, which is pretty close to 80, in the next 2 weeks. So if we're going to hit 90 this summer, it's going to be in the late summer period. We're talking about probably towards the end of August into September. It's not going to happen before then. So if you're a heat lover, I'm sorry. All right. That's Weather for Weather Geeks on this Thursday. Thanks for watching. We'll have another edition of this tomorrow afternoon. In the meantime, I'll have an updated forecast with an update on what we think for the weekend tonight on both 21 News at 6 and 11. See you then.